Bonita's Kitchen. What I'm going to be making for you today is moose roll. Moose roll is a traditional meal that most Newfoundlanders enjoy, or moose in general, not necessarily the moose roll. And I'm going to show you now a few of the ingredients that we'll be using in this meal. We're going to be using, of course, 2 steaks of moose, which is very thinly cut. I got 6 strips of bacon. I got a medium onion cut into slices, and we're going to be stuffing it with breadcrumbs, which is going to be a traditional dressing with savoury butter. And then after, I'm going to make a gravy, and I'll show you how I will do that. Okay, so let's get started. So what we're going to start with first is making our dressing. So that'll be 1 cup of grated breadcrumbs. Stale bread would be best to use for this, or you can buy the breadcrumbs in your market. 1 tablespoonful of savoury, and you can get that in any of your grocery stores. And we're going to go 2 tablespoonfuls of butter. So put that in there. And we're going to go 2 tablespoonfuls of finely chopped onion, because we don't want it too big, because this is what's going to go inside of our moose roll. About 4 grates of salt. Don't overuse the salt. And I'm going to go a few extra grates of pepper, because I do enjoy my pepper in my food. So you just mix all this together and use your hand. You don't need to be using a spoon or a spatula of any sort, because this will grate it all together nicely for you. And that's all you need. You don't have to overdo that. Okay, so we're going to put this to the side, and I'm going to grab my moose steaks. Okay, so let's get started on stuffing our moose steaks. So what we're going to do is just dry it off a little bit. You don't want it too wet. And I'm going to put it on my paper. I got parchment paper and foil wrap is what we're going to be rolling it in. So you just put that to the side. And like I said, have it cut as thin as possible. If you can access moose, you can use pork, you could use beef. So just take nice helpings and make the long way of the steak, not the short way, because we're going to keep it together with the bacon while we're using it. So put nice helpings in each one. Don't worry if it's not perfect, because this is for yourself, and even if you're feeding guests, I'm sure they're not going to complain, because this is a very tasty meal. Okay, so you want to tightly pack this dressing in there. I'm going to put this to the side. Quickly wipe my hands. Alright, so this becomes the interesting part. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper on the inside. I'm not going to use salt at this point. So you're going to roll your steak away from you as such. Okay, so you're going to continue rolling it till it's nice and tight as such. Okay, so now I'm going to be using 3 pieces of bacon each, and it's got quite a bit of fat on it. I haven't bought any bacon lately that don't have quite a bit of fat on it, but in this case we need that, because we need that extra oil, because a moose can be quite dry. So we're going to wrap it around as such, and now we'll have 1 more piece of bacon on that. So 3 pieces of bacon per roll. So you wrap it around nice and tight, so we go something like that. So what I'm going to also do now, because I only put just a small amount of onion inside the dressing, this is why I got these onion rings. I want to layer the bottom of my parchment paper and the foil wrap. Well, you don't have to use parchment paper, but I like using it because it makes a nice little cozy little wrap. So you're going to put it on top of the onion. Then you're going to take some more. This is a medium onion, so you're going to use half for each one. and just put it over the top. So you're going to have equal amounts of onion. And now, I'm just going to wipe my hands. I'm going to make a little bit of a drizzle to go over the top. So I want it a little bit moist. It's a tablespoonful of beef base. It's like OXO, only it comes in a packet, or you can get it already in those packages. So you just pour just a little bit over, just for flavor, and a little more pepper. 2 grates of salt. So now this is when it gets tricky. So we got this like that, and now we're going to wrap it. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to fold over 1 portion. So you want to make this as tight as possible, because you're not opening this no more until you are about to take it out and serve it. So we're going to go like this and make it nice and tight, and roll it again away from you as such, and then you got it like this. Just put it to the side, and now I'll continue with my second steak. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do this one, and so as we can get started on our next step. I know I already rolled one and you've seen it, but I just figured I'll roll the second one just in case you needed to see that all over again. So just go around with your bacon nicely, like you said. It don't have to be a lean bacon. I know you'd say, oh well, why are you using fat bacon? But again, it's not a whole lot of fat in moose meat, so you need to have this to help you with to get that grease and the moisture. So you go around like this until it's all done. This one's a little more messier, but that's okay. You can just throw that off to the side. And I'm going to, again, equal portions of onion, and so this is on both sides. Onion gives a great flavor for any meal anyway, and it's one of my favorite as well. Just going to rinse my hands. So I want to get some pepper and salt over this. This is, and you put it as your taste. If you like more, certainly don't use a lot of salt, but pepper you could use a little bit more. And just a couple of drizzles now of this beef broth. And again, like you said, it's OXO bully beef. You can get that at your grocery store. It's a base, beef base. And again, if you can't get yourself moose, you use beef or pork. It won't taste like moose, of course, but it'll taste lovely with this recipe. It bakes nice together, so continue rolling away from you, and then it'll look something like this. Okay, so now that we got our moose rolls ready to go, I got just 2 foil little containers to put into my roaster. You may have a roaster that got a grate in it, and that one will be perfect for this, because I'm going to use a cup of water in the bottom of my roaster, so that this will help with the steam, as I don't want this to burn in there. And we're going to put the moose rolls inside, so it will look something like this. It'll be on top of those foil containers, so it's not touching the bottom, and then the steam from that water, it'll help cook this. It's almost like poaching it. So I got a preheated oven for 350. I'm going to put it in for an hour and a half. It could take a little bit more. You can't open these packages until you know, you're ready to take it out and serve it. But depending on your steak that you cut, if it's a thin steak that you get, a moose steak, an hour and a half is lots. But if it's thick, you probably want to put it in for 2 hours, depending on your oven. But like you said, again, you're dealing with moose, so it might be a little more dense. Okay, so now I'm going to cover it like this. I'm going to put it in that oven, and after I'll get started on my gravy. So just meet me back here for that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make our gravy. So we'll start with a tablespoonful of butter. Now the reason why I'm making the gravy this way is because my mousse rolls is done in the oven like it's been poached. So I want a gravy. I can't use that for my gravy, so we're going to make it from scratch. So we'll use about a tablespoonful of olive oil. So that's a tablespoonful of butter and a tablespoonful of olive oil. So let that melt. And what we're going to do now is put a small chopped onion in there. And we're going to let that fry until the onions are soft, and then we'll start making the gravy. Okay, so it looks like my onions are ready, or they are cooked. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoonfuls of flour into this mixture and just let that thicken in your pot here. So it's going to look something like this. And I'm going to use about a cup of vegetable broth, and if you got it on hand, fine, but if you don't, I've cooked some potatoes and carrot off to the side to add with our mousse roll, and so I'm going to drain off about a cup here now. That's good. Put that back on the damper. Pour it in. And I'm going to use the rest of the broth, what I made for basing our mousse roll. I'm going to use that because it's got a beef base to it, and that will flavor up your gravy. So keep mixing around until all of your flour have dissolved and is thickened. And then you got your gravy. Of course, it's going to look something like this. So turn it down on low heat because your mousse roll is cooking and you don't want this to dry out or burn. So you can either turn it off or turn it down on low, and that should be fine. Okay, so we'll just wait now until our mousse roll is done. Okay, welcome back to Bonita's kitchen, and now our mousse rolls are done. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to remove one from this steam bath, and I'm going to open it up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just cut it in pieces. You don't have to let it, you could let it rest if you want to, but if you're making this for company, if you're making this for your family, you want it to serve it piping hot. You don't want for it to be set. So I'm going to take 2 nice helpings now out of it and set it over here on my plate. As so, as you can see, oh my, this looks amazing here. So I'll just pop that in front. I'm just going to grab some of the onions and add to the top of it. And I'm going to reach for my gravy. Now I have just added another cup of vegetable broth to the gravy because I wanted for it to be thin. I didn't want for it to be too thick. I'm using a side of mashed potatoes and carrot. Again, you could use whatever you want for yours. Now, this is what our mousse roll would look like. And it took about an hour and a half. Like I said, it could be 2 hours depending on the size of your steak. Mine was about 1/4 inch thick. And like I said, it done really good, and I'm sure it's going to be just as tasty. Thank you for joining me once again for Bonita's Kitchen. Please try this recipe, share it with your family and friends, and you have a wonderful day.